get monetized, we'll be able to lower the prices of our lawsuit packages. And we also launched our first online foreclosure defense risk course that will help you learn how to file your lawsuit. And in that course, we have everything you need. All the lawsuit packages, we have the lawsuit packages you need to get after the judge when they try to illegally throw you out of court. You have everything in there that you need. And the resources, you also have the banker's secret manual as one of the main resources in there that we want you guys to use and learn from. And that course, I got my first student enrolled a couple of days ago, and he sent me a message, a text message last night that I was going to send to my email so I can post it in the group. And he mentioned that he was very happy and something about me being a genius. So he's going to leave me a review. That'll be my first Google review for the online course. So on my YouTube channel, I give out free information. If you're fighting your foreclosure or facing a property tax problem or have an issue with third-party debt collections, the credit card attorneys filing a lawsuit or a lien against your paycheck, any of that stuff, go to my YouTube channel and you can get free information that'll help you be able to put together what you need to get up in the attorney's faces, because that's what we're all about. So today, I want to talk a little bit today about the city's misguided and unlawful control over the Airbnb and private property in general. The Airbnb people, it's really sad. These people that are running these Airbnbs are doing this because they are using that income to not only pay their mortgage, but to also help feed their families and make it through this pandemic crap that we're facing. Everybody's trying to be creative to make it, which I think is absolutely fabulous, because I don't really go for the giving up stuff. Like I got no give up in me. So I'm really happy to see people fighting. The sad thing is that the city is stepping up, making it difficult for these people, and the city has no right to be in their face telling them what they need to be doing and trying to control their property. So we're going to talk a little bit today about some things so that people will understand where the city misguided control is coming from, and is that misguided control consensual, or is it something that you have to do because of a law? And we're going to provide you a starting point. I always tell people, don't just take my word for it and believe me. I'm not trying to convince you to believe me. I'm not trying to convince you to invest in my products or buy my stuff. I'm providing information. Now, you can take that information and decide how you want to use it yourself. That's how I roll. For me, everybody does not make a good fit in my program. I only like to work with the people that are willing to step up and do whatever it takes. And those people that can operate without fear, because I have a hard time with the fear part. And growing up in sports and as a coach, we don't want to hear about the fear. Okay, we don't want to hear about any of that stuff that's getting in the way with getting done what needs to get done. That's all we want to hear about, because that's what we're here for. And I also want to let people know that my goal is not to make it easy for you to do this. My goal is to help you learn how to take the ball yourself and take care of business. And that's one of the differences in between what I do and what, well, I hate to compare myself to attorneys, because that's, okay, we're just gonna put it this way. That's the difference between what I do and what other people do, okay? My goal is help you learn so that you can step up and take the ball and take care of your business. Other people's goal is to do all that for you and make you go sit down. And so at the end of the day, you haven't learned anything. You have not learned anything. Well, actually you have. You learn at the end of the day that you're wasting your money. You know? So, and I tell people, you know, you can mess up your case yourself. You don't have to pay someone to do it. So one of the things that we're going to talk about today is how how the city controls the Airbnbs and how the city controls private property owners in general. When I say Airbnbs, I'm talking about private property owners too. I'm just spinning this off on that side so that those business owners will see that they fit in this category. If I just went with eliminate property tax or whatever and kept it on the foreclosure, people running Airbnbs, it may not click that this applies to them as well. So, and we're having this problem here in Kansas as well. And one of my family members owns several Airbnbs, and the documents that I put together for anybody that needs this, that is facing this problem, will be the same documents that I put together for my family members. So, and if you've seen any of my documents, you'll see I don't be playing around. So now the first thing that we need to understand before we look at this situation is, what is a law? And the attorneys are supposed to be using the laws to provide jurisdiction to the court to take action, right? That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way this is supposed to go. Now, before we review what a law is, we have to understand there are three elements that are necessary for anything to be a valid law. And when we review these elements, and you learn these skills, they're going to be life-changing. And I will tell you, if you get this, you will be able to challenge speeding tickets, zoning coding issues, some criminal stuff, with just what I'm about to share with you. Challenging the court's jurisdiction because the codes and statutes that they're using do not contain the necessary elements to be considered a valid law. So when you start looking at it that way, a question comes to my mind. Are you consenting to paying property taxes? Think about that, because we're going to review that in the end. And you're going to have to, what I'm doing is providing information. You're going to have to make your own mind up. And you'll be able to do that after you learn a couple of things. Okay, so the three elements that are needed for something to be considered a valid law. Now, most of the people in my private Facebook page and in my YouTube channel, most of those people, I make them go find it. But since you guys are listeners of Hamilton Radio, I'm gonna make it easy for you, and I'm gonna throw it right on the table so that you can use it right now if you find it has value. So the number one thing, there are three elements necessary for something to be a valid law. And these elements are mandated by the state constitution of each state. So the first element is there must be an enacting clause. The enacting clause teaches folks from what authority the law came from and who's subject to following it. We, the people, in the Constitution preamble is the enacting clause for the Constitution. Each state has an enacting clause, and I have a video that I put together that goes into this presentation in detail, and I'm going to leave it with Gene at the radio station, and he's going to post it so people will be able to click on it or whatever. And it goes to our YouTube channel, and it outlines everything that I'm talking about in detail. And then, like, now I'm just going to kind of go over it. In the video, I share my screen, and you'll get to see the jurisdiction issues. You'll get to see what the statute looks like. You'll get to see what a code definition is, what a statute definition is. You'll get to see what an ordinance definition is, what a law is, and you'll also get to see what the law is and the law and the Constitution. You'll get to see that, because that's where you start. So once you understand the verbiage, then you'll be in a better position to make a determination if you're consenting to being hosed or not, basically. So one of the things that, the three things that must be present in order for something to be considered a valid law the other thing that we want to take a look at is the Constitution and the law. So basically, the Constitution is the law, the foundation for all of the laws. And any laws that are in contrast to the Constitution are void, and they are not anything that we have to follow. Now remember, we have to follow the laws from the Constitution, and the state constitution mandates that in order for something to be a valid law, it has to have the three things. It has to have an enacting clause, it has to have a title, it has to have a body. So the Constitution and taxing private property, this is also shared in the video. And just kind of summing it up, it states in there that direct taxes are prohibited, not once, but twice in the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And a direct tax is tax on stuff which you already own. And direct taxes are illegal unless there's like a war or something like that. And then if there's taxes, they have to be appropriated or apportioned through all of the union states. So yeah, so what they do to get around that, and we'll get to how this relates to the Airbnbs kind of when we get done with this things that we got to understand. So what they do to get around that is they reclassify your property as one of their three commercial classifications: residential, commercial, or agricultural. And people don't realize that residential actually means that's a property that a government official stays in. That's how they get around that whole thing. So the problem starts with registering your deed in their office. Once your deed is registered in the office, that is what initiates the property tax, the zoning, coding, enforcement. All of that starts when your deed is registered in their office. Now, I'm going to break this down for you because I play football in college and I box. So those are two things that not smart people do. So I have to like keep it simple. So your property deed, and this is what you need to research, okay? According to the real estate deed laws, once the property is sold, the deed and the title and deed, I was informed last night, I was referred to the deed, I was informed last night that it's the title and the deed because they're supposed to be to whatever. So once the property is sold, the deed and the title are supposed to be, and this is according to the real estate deed laws. So look up the real estate deed laws in your state and see, because I'm not telling anybody to believe me, okay? Look up, do your own homework. According to the real estate deed laws, the title and the deed is supposed to be delivered to the property owner after the sale. But that's not what happens. Did you get your deed or title after the sale? No. What happens is they do what when I say they, I'm talking about the bar members, somebody, okay, they do what is considered a constructive delivery. It's totally illegal. A constructive delivery means that they have taken your property deed and registered it in their office. Now, when I'm researching this, I'm like, how the hell are you kidding me right now? So what is the justification for having a different way of doing it? Well, they said in the research that I read that some of the owners or whatever are out of town. So that's all it said. So that's it. They're out of town. So we're going to do this constructive delivery with everybody's stuff. Okay, so yeah, that don't make sense to me. Now, and that's, so keeping that in mind, the other problem is, and I like to start at the gate. I'm a little nitpicky, I guess you can say, and I like to start at the gate. So instead of trying to figure out all of this stuff, and now at the gate, I'm thinking, what law is it that forces me to register my deed in the office in the first place? Because I'm not trying to argue with them about whether they can or can't or all that. I just want to know what law makes me register my deed in the office in the first place. Well, there is no law that mandates that you have to register your deed in a county recorder's office. I like to pick the loopholes and get just a little bit of fray of a thread and start pulling on it all the way out. So if there's no law that mandates you have to register your property deed in their office, I would ask formally request my property deed back, which is what we do in my eliminating property tax lawsuit package. You have a notice of claim, which is your formal request for your property deed back before you file your $5.5 million lawsuit against them for a whole bunch of illegal stuff that they're doing. I have to call them back. I'm a little busy right now. So that is what we're facing. And if you are happy with paying your property tax, then fine. If you're not, then you have an option to challenge that, because the whole process that they're doing is totally illegal. And one of the things that people are finding out now is when you challenge your property tax, so I tell people, look, it's not about the property tax, okay? It's about getting control of your deed or title and deed or whatever. That's what this is about. It's about getting control of the deed to your property. People don't realize that the state uses your property as collateral for loans from the federal government. Yep. So in most cases, you have a debt attached to your property that is not helping you any, and you don't even know about.
It's like a secret lien or something, right?
Yep. So at the end of the day, there's no law that mandates that you have to put your deed in their office. So I would ask for it back. And when they get up in your face and start telling you, well, the property tax, you know what? The property tax is not your freaking problem. It's not. Keep it simple. Back in the day, you used to register your deed and it was kept in your Bible. It was kept in the family Bible with your birth certificates and with other stuff that was important to the family. There was no office to register it in. So what they tell you is, oh, well, you have to register it so the chain of title is not broken and all this stuff. Okay, well, you know what? That is a problem when you're selling the property. The bank requires, the title company requires the chain of title to be unbroken, and I get that, but most people, when they're buying a property, they ain't finna sell it for quite a long time. So why would you worry about that? You can fix that when you're ready to sell it. You just file the paperwork in there just like they do. What people don't realize is that when you put your deed, when you allow them to register your deed in their office, they control your stuff. And I have people in my private Facebook page, okay, that are facing foreclosure, and at least 4 people. And they have all of the documents to show that their property was paid in full. The lien release, they have all of that stuff, but they're still facing foreclosure right now. So how the hell does that work? Well, you know what? What happens is these fraudulent attorneys go into the county recorder's office where your information is stored. Yep. And they have access to it. They get your property information. They fill out a fake assignment and attack your property with foreclosure. And not one time did they have any consideration in the deal or anything. And these attorneys know that 80% of Americans can't afford an attorney. And at the time I read this, 56% of us live one emergency away from struggling. That's a lot higher right now. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So these attorneys can do this to people knowing that the odds are in their favor, especially in a non-judicial situation. the odds are in their favor that they're going to have your house sold before you even figure out what the hell you need to be doing. It's sad. And the people that are doing the Airbnbs right now, if the city didn't have their property information in their computer, they wouldn't be in their face telling them how many people can stay in their house and how many people can park in their driveway and how many people, you know. And to me, that's all crazy, because if you have Airbnb and people are having a party being stupid, you're gonna call the city? Hell no, you're gonna call the damn police. You're gonna call the police, and the police come out, and then the people that are renting the property are going to jam those people up. And not only does the renters that are renting the Airbnb, but also the Airbnbs are also reviewed. So we get to review them, they get to review us. So when you leave a review on renters, short-term rental person's profile saying, hey, these guys had a stinking wild party, they tore up my stuff, disrespected the neighbors, I don't think people are going to be interested. So their system is set up to weed out problems. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, none of these things ever happen,
Right.
but this stuff is not up for the city to make the call on whether or not someone can, what they can do with their property because of possible problems down the road. And one of the things that people always say too, when this subject comes up is, well, how are you going to pay for the services? You know, police department, and you know, well, so I had a guy that got his property removed off the tax roll. And then he told me a few years later, they put it back on there, which is why I did something in addition to that, instead of going down the conventional path. But what he told me was he got his stuff off the tax roll for 2 years, and they were pissed. And they sent him an itemized statement about what it was going to cost him if he had to have the police out to his house, and if he had to have the fire truck, the ambulance, or whatever. So he got this itemized list. And I'm thinking that list is supposed to scare him. Well, I'm thinking the same thing he was thinking, because he said, I would rather pay when they come and I need the service, as opposed to paying every day when I don't need the service.
Right, exactly.
Now, how many of you had the police come out? Well, maybe, okay, let me rephrase that, okay? No, so not, you know, how many people have the ambulance, the fire department have to come out to your house? Not very often.
Let me interrupt you here, because I can show an example of what we're paying $8,900 a year for property taxes now. It went up from 72 to 89, which is a big jump, and it's going up again. Okay. If I paid the services, I would be saving like almost thousands and thousands of dollars of money. I would rather opt out of the property taxes and pay the services as needed, rather than pay weekly, monthly, yearly, and all that money. Where's it go?
And they're going to raise it next year.
Right, and this is exactly what I'm saying. I'd rather pay the services, but they tell you now. The reason why they do that is because I think they try to throw fear into you. Oh, well, if you do this, we're not coming, and we're not going to. That type of thing. Fear and intimidation is a big motivator, and I know that people that work for these municipalities that they say they get the money from the tax office. They get the money from the general fund. They don't get money from the tax office. I just want people to understand that. From the general fund. Tax office is different. Somebody explained that to me a long time ago. Same thing with the federal government. The general fund, Social Security, they're separate. They're not together. But when they want to borrow money, where do they borrow from? Social Security. So the type of thing that you're talking about is, yeah, they won't be able to put their hands in the cookie jar and take the money out as they need it. So everything is going to have to go back to bonds and this type of thing, or who's going to borrow money. But I think your idea and that person's idea is the way everybody should go. Pull the rug right out from under them and say, okay, now do what you got to do. That's what I believe.
And I agree with you. And the sad part about this is, there's a lot of people, and I posted an ad on Facebook about limited property tax, and I actually posted the the notice of claim letter. I actually copy and pasted it right in the ad to give it to people free. So they can take that notice of claim letter and stick it in their face and see what they got to say about it. And oh my God, oh man, there were people, oh, you scumbag. They were calling me somebody was calling me a scumbag. And of course, only an attorney would attack me like that.
Right.
So I told him he was a scumbag first. And then I asked him why he felt that way. He didn't want to talk about it no more. I think he saw a prior post where somebody was telling me I was engaged in unauthorized practice law without a license. And I posted Swear versus Board of Examiners Supreme Court rules states that no state can license or practice this law. So I don't know what he's talking about. I sure like to see a copy of that. So no, the attorneys don't like to talk to me. But boy, and people get so worked up. Oh, you're teaching people how to escape the system and blah, blah, blah. You know what? I started researching this because I had several customers who were facing a foreclosure lien. I had 3 or 4 people facing a foreclosure lien tax sale. And it's like, are you kidding me right now? The more I started looking into it.
Back the onion.
Yeah. And I actually did quite a bit more research on this than I usually do. And I think I mentioned this to you before, Gene, because it was so easy.
Yes, you did.
You know, it was so easy. There's no law that mandates you have to file your thing in their office. So I had a person who actually was a guy that I grew up with and I played football with. Of course, I played defensive end and he was a quarterback. So I got to like rub his face in the dirt in practice a few times. But we're still friends. And he commented on my ad that he was a tax assessor in Arizona and that the AR, Arizona revised codes and put the statute, gave the tax assessor the right to record people's properties. And so I told him, I was like, dude, you're absolutely right. The AR, whatever is, and he said, he referred to it as law. It's actually not a law. It's a statute, which is a rule from the corporation. And yes, it gives a person in the corporation corporation authority to register people's properties. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is whether or not there is a law that forces people to stick their deed in their office. So we're talking 2 totally different situations here.
They try.
And so some other people chimed in, and so I don't know. I'm a little passionate about stuff, especially when I get challenged, because I've done my homework. And if someone can knock me off to the side, bring it.
Yeah,
bring a lunch.
I was going to say we welcome people. You know, we'll welcome people if they want to call, they want to jump on Zoom with us, whatever they want to do. We'll just sit here and just let them. You know, they can talk about whatever they want, and we'll see what, you know, like you said, if there's no law,
it's a wrap.
Yeah.
But I like what you said, Gene, and I'll challenge it. Anybody that wants to challenge anything that I'm saying can bring it. I'm not going to take it personal. Well, okay, so the only time I take it personal is if you invest in my lawsuit package and I'm helping you and you call me, and I had a guy do this. He called me and he was asking me, you know, as well, you know, I said, so what's your question? He said, well, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, well, you know, I've been talking to a couple of my attorney friends and this is what they told me. Please don't tell me that, because that's apparently I have a little bit of a problem with, you know, just challenge me. But don't tell me that your attorney friends told you to come and challenge me, because if you tell me that, then I'm going to say, okay, are you in? Are you out? Because you can't be both ways.
Right. It's part of the system that, you know, that we know, you and I know, and I think a lot of the people know, that if you're agreeing with what they say, then you
better pack your stuff.
Right.
And so, you know, so my thing is we're doing this non-conventional, and the non-conventional cannot be mixed with the conventional, because conventional is all stinky. And if you mix the 2, then you're going to get the stink over here and the arguing starts. Their system is structured for the arguing to start. And when the arguing's over, the judge gets to help them. It's simple. That's the way it's structured. Right. So you want to go in with some stuff that nobody wants to argue about.
Yeah.
You want to go in with stuff the judge don't want to have their name on because they don't want to have you appeal it and have them on the hook for appellate rules, that laws that other people will be able to use, because then now that judge is not going to get his or her free house or campaign contribution or whatever it is they get for throwing people under the bus. I haven't figured out what it is, but I know they're getting something.
Oh yeah, there's got to be some kind of kickback there, or else they wouldn't have the incentive to do it, because they're putting their career, pension, and all that on the line for whatever it is.
And that, Gene, is a very good point. What I do is I teach people how to force these parties to visualize a shared liability. And we do that by staying in court and getting the documents on the record that you need to help your lawsuit and for an appeal if you need to do that, to buy yourself time to do what you need to do. I have no faith in the appeal process. I have no faith in nothing that they do that's conventional. But as a strategical coach, sometimes you want to use those things to help you if you're in a situation. By the time you hook up with me, if you're in a situation where you're about to get shoved off the edge of the cliff, then you want to use these things to give yourself time to get your foot in the door and get your documents to file so that you can start taking over the process.
Right. I just want to add to that too, that anytime you get anything through the U.S. mail that's considered fraud, that's a federal fraud. They're putting it through the mail, sending it to you.
And that is absolutely right. And not only is it mail fraud, it's wire fraud,
right.
Mail fraud, and if you invest in the lawsuit package, you will have to add those to the title of your lawsuit. And the title of the lawsuit right now is $5.5 million civil claim for violation of the Constitution, violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 241, and 18 U.S.C. Section 242, deprivation of rights under color of law, conspiracy against rights, racketeering, and violation of the IRS code. That's what the lawsuit looks like that you're going to be bringing to the table. Now, you can add mail fraud and wire fraud in there. And usually if there's mail fraud and wire fraud, there's also income tax evasion, money laundering, and those things like that are all things that get added into that too. So I'm gonna have to beef this up a little bit.
Oh, you mean the lawsuit? Yeah.
The lawsuit, yeah.
Yeah. No,
all of those things should be added to the lawsuit, because like you just stated, that they're violating all of those things. You violate one, and funny how it goes, because this is the stuff they use against us all the time.
Oh, and don't forget one of the biggest things, when they serve you with a summons to go to court, that's the agent from the court serving you. That's a conflict of interest.
Yep. Oh, we don't even want to go down that road.
No, but I mean, it is something you can.
No, you're absolutely right. And when you start talking about a conflict of interest, now you got bar members on both sides of the bench.
Right.
And, oh, the judge will be fair. We don't have to worry about that. Right?
Well, he goes with his buddies.
Yeah.
Right? And they're all, and you know, that's the other part about it. They're all from the Goodman, the club, the big club. The club they hit you over the head with it and everything that George Carlin talks about, exactly what he's saying. We allow them to get away with what they do because everybody, number one, is afraid to get up there and do anything. Number two, is not motivated enough to do anything. And the ones that are shot down. And the reason why they shoot them down is because the next time somebody goes up there, they're not going to have a chance to do anything.
And they can smell fear a mile away.
Yep. Like mosquitoes. They bite you, you know, and then all of a sudden you get bit by 1,000 of them. But man, Guy, I'll tell you, this is a wide eye-opening for me for property taxes. I never knew people. I don't know if you understand what he's saying, and I'll reiterate a little bit because this is what I heard. When they register the title, when they register the deed, they don't tell you, they don't let you know. They just assume that you agreed to it. And it's called constructive order, right? Or constructive delivery.
A constructive delivery.
Right, constructive delivery, where they put it in as assuming that you're away from everything and you don't know what's going on. You're on vacation. We are on vacation because we're brain dead, people. We don't see that. We don't see this.
Actually, Gene, what they do is the bar members, they make you believe that part of the process you have to go through is registering your deed in the office. They make you believe that that's part of what you have to do to keep the chain of title, to do all of this stuff. And then once you get your deed in the office, they start charging you. And my lawsuit package addresses the fact that they have an obligation to inform you if registering your deed in the office is going to cost you money and do all that stuff. They have an obligation to disclose that, and they do not. And then when you go down there and you start asking them about it, they act like they don't know what they're talking about. I have a guy in a group that he sent them the notice of claim letter, and they got back with him and told him basically that he's entitled to his opinion and that they're collecting taxes in accordance with the Constitution. We know that's not true, and that they'll just see him in court. So then he went ahead and filed his lawsuit in federal court, and he served them. And then he posted, well, first, after he sent them the notice of claim letter, he posted a picture in our private Facebook page of the city truck across the street. Mm-hmm. It looked like they're on a levee up kind of high, just stopped staring at his house. And so then a few days later, after they were served, he posted a picture showing that they reduced his property tax value from $46,000 down to like $22,000. And he posted that in the group. So I told him that was their offering. He said that they did reduced it, and then the statement they sent him was to collect for 2021 taxes. So these people are not used to being slapped in the face. We're going to drop it down, okay, but we're not giving your deed back, and we need you to go ahead and pay your shit for next year right now, please. Thank you.
Have a nice day. Come again. Oh no, I mean, oh God, brother, I wish people would call. I'm going to give them the number, and they can tell them to call if they want to. They're welcome to. If you have any other comments you want to make before we do that, that's great.
No, go ahead.
You'll put the number out? Okay.
Yeah, because I'd love to hear what people have to say about it. And, because like I said, I've been taking heat from people. People are getting mad at me thinking that I'm doing this, trying to show somebody how to escape the law. Okay, escape the law? Are you kidding me? What law? They're the ones violating the law.
There's no law. It's crazy. Let me make the announcement. Okay, guys, you can call in at 609-585-0400. That's 609-585-0400. And I'll get your question, or you can ask Coach Neighbors your question yourself. But right now, I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like I've been so violated between the property taxes and all the other stuff that this is just, listen, if you want to be what they call a sheeple, go ahead and be. If that's what makes you happy and you're like, I don't really want to get involved in that, I'm scared, I'm nervous, I'm this, I don't want to, well, then that's fine. You be your person. But the people that want to stand up strong against what they think is wrong, let them stand up strong and at least support them. Show them your support. That's what I'm going to do. I'm showing them my support. And I know Coach Neighbors is too. So he's giving you the tools to do it, guys. And all you have to do is pretty much just make a phone call now or buy his program. And we can bring you on as a testimonial of what you're doing, how you're making out, where you're at. And I don't care about if you call. I know they say you can't talk about the case and stuff like that. I went through all that. But you know what? You're not in media, really. you're in secluded media. So technically you're not in the mainstream media, but you are. So there's a little bit of leeway there. You know, you can say whatever you want to say. You can do whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, you have to answer to yourself. And you have to look yourself in the mirror. That's the guy, that's one thing I tell everybody. If you can look yourself in the mirror at yourself in the mirror and say, listen, I'm fine with paying this, I'm fine with paying that, then I got no question about that. That's you. But there's a lot of people I know that can't look in that mirror and say, I can't let these people do this to me. Then you need to fight.
And there's people that are facing displacement over this issue.
Yes. Yes.
And you know, I had a lady call me. They're taking her house for freaking $2,600. She allegedly owed $2,600, and they're taking her house that she's been living in for 17 years.
What I mean,
for $2,600. And you know, this property tax lien. So what in my research, okay, because they have a tax lien, does not give them the authority to foreclose on your property.
right?
All a tax lien does, it gives them the authority, if you want to say that, to cloud the title so that the title can be transferred until this dispute's been settled. That's it. Now, they have a statute that they use to go ahead and file the foreclosure on a tax lien, and we already talked about the statute. That statute does not have the necessary elements to be considered a valid law. And I want to make sure that people understand this is something that you can use to attack the foreclosure against your house right now. Because I'll tell you, whether it's judicial or non-judicial, you know, there is no valid law. The statute that they're using is a rule that was put together for the city, for the government officials, for the city, not for the people. And they're sticking it all in our face based off of same lies that they have trained us to believe, that attorneys have a license and that we need them. And it's hard for me to say that without laughing.
Yeah. You know what? You're right. I think that if more people became pro se, they're going to have to get respected. I got no respect for attorneys, not after what I went through. None whatsoever. They lied to me. They told me different things. And you see yourself, you know, every time you try to take down that wall and go, well, I'll try it again, and I'll try it again. But every time you do, it's like, it's just, you're opening up another can of worms.
I had a lady tell me that she spent $9,000 on attorney fees trying to save her house. And in the end, the attorney told her, after she ran out of money, you don't understand why she's fighting so hard to keep her house. She should just move out. And I tell her, man, I'm glad. If the attorney told me that, I sure hell hope it's on the phone, and I hope he lives in Siberia, because I don't know where the hell Siberia is. I would, if he told me that in person after paying him all of my money and told me that, no. I think my hands would be around his neck and they would be still stuck there when the police showed up. So I would be in trouble. I would not handle that very well.
See, a lot of us,
that would be a problem.
Guy, a lot of us went through that. I could tell you this personal experience. I spent almost 12 grand on lawyers trying to get out of it, and then another 6 grand proven to the bank that took over after the other bank decided not to do it after whatever issues were with Ditech.
Oh my God, they're so naughty.
Well, yeah, that's kind of, and then Green Tree. First was Green Tree, then it was Ditech, and then it was somebody else, and you know, they played a game with the agents, and the agents buy the agents buy the accounts for 10 cents or less than $1. So And the bank already made their money on the first act asset. They make their money on the derivative, and they complain and complain to the IRS. Oh, I have a problem because they're hurting me. Hurting you? You got 3 or 4 times or 10 times the amount of the money you were supposed to get. Let's talk about that.
9 times.
There you go, 9 times.
According to modern money mechanics, they were credited 9 times the amount in a demand deposit account when they process your promissory note to the Federal Reserve. And I used that in court one time. Oh my God, I had them people so pissed off. I used that in court. I told them not only did I want my $5.5 million, I wanted back the other 8 amounts that were stored in that demand deposit account and the interest. And the attorneys jumped up. Well, the first attorney got fired, and then 2 more attorneys showed up from another firm. So there was like 3 attorneys over there, and I walked in like, hello, ladies, you know, we finna have some fun up in here today. Well, they jumped up and started objecting and telling the judge that all I was doing was just driving the price of the litigation up with ridiculous stuff. Well, the night before, I took the time to read the entire mortgage contract, all of the pages, all of the little writing. And on page 17, I agreed to pay the attorney fees should the loan go into default. And I not only agreed to pay the attorney fees, I agreed to do it from their jurisdiction, wherever I agreed to all of that stuff. So I just threw it on the table. I said, Judge, I don't understand why these attorneys are saying here that I'm just driving up the prices and blah, 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 because according to the contract on page 17, I agreed to pay their attorney fees should their loan go into default. And the judge looked at me and said, Mr. Neighbors, we're not gonna have that.
See, they don't like to be questioned because once you're as smart as they are, you're on the same playing field. They don't like that. They get nervous. They get scared.
Well,
you down.
I didn't let it die that easy. So he said, we're not going to have that. I said, well, I don't understand. He said, well, they're licensed attorneys. And so blah, 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 blah. I said, oh, well, are you? Yes, I have a license too. I said, well, I sure like to see a copy of it. So the attorney's grabbing their purse, you know? And I was like, no. I'm not talking about your bar card because that's just an entry into the club. I'm talking about a real license from the state with your picture on it and a reference number where I can call them and have them tell me that you are licensed there, whatever. Right. And just start slamming the hammer down. We're not going to have that either.
You didn't get contempt though, did you?
Yeah, well, I'd love to be back. And that was when I was first learning how to do this 8 or 9 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I would love to be back in the office now. Now, I gave them a hard time. They started harassing me when I started stepping up and posting all their stuff on the internet. And so they gave me some seatbelt. I drove around without my seatbelt on just to piss them off. And I wanted to learn how to do stuff in court. This was a while back. So they gave me a $10 seatbelt ticket. And so I challenged it. And the traffic court judge was pissed. At the end of the day, to make a long story short, I actually filed a claim against the traffic court judge, and then I moved it to federal court. Mm-hmm. And people tell me, well, you can't move the, well, if you follow the conventional program, right, because they don't let you do stuff, okay? But I don't have to follow that, I don't think outside the box, I think without a box. So once I filed a claim against the traffic court judge, no other state judges could hear the case because it'd be a conflict. So I moved it to federal court. And then I started doing more research and found out that municipal court gets its jurisdiction from the city ordinance. Mm-hmm. Now, how the hell can a corporation give itself judicial authority? So I challenged that, and they ignored that and tried to proceed. So then I filed a restraining order in federal court to block the traffic court judge from making determinations without doing it under the Constitution. And they still didn't act like they wanted to cooperate. So a week later, I filed another restraining order to block the police department. And this went on for about a year and a couple of months. And finally, I got a phone call from the judge. I was in Florida with my daughter, and I got a phone call from the judge's deputy or whatever, and they're wanting to have a hearing on the telephone. And of course, you know, I told him, I said, I was right in the middle of something now. I can call you guys back in like, you know, 15 or 20 minutes or something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, okay, that'll be great because we have the city prosecutor here and we got everybody here. Hey guys, hello, Mr. Neighbors, you know, yeah, they're all my buddies. So I hang up the phone and my wife's like, what are you doing? I said, she's like, well, what are you? I was like, dude, I'm not doing nothing. I'm catching my breath. So why aren't you gonna call me? Yeah, I'll call him back in a few minutes. Yeah. So I put them on ice. You know, coaches do that all the time.
Make them sweat.
Put them on ice before they shoot them free throws. So then I called them back, and the judge is like, Mr. Neighbors, we need to figure out how a remedy to this situation. What is it that you want? And I, of course, you know, I have $5.5 million on it because I put that on everything like hot wing sauce. So I just told him, I said, look, number one thing is I'm tired of the police officers harassing me. If there's a problem, they can send the sheriff department out. I lived here for 42 years. I've never had a problem. I've never been disrespected by anybody from the sheriff's department. I said, number one. I said, number two, I want my case to be moot. And because I don't feel like these people are going to follow the rules because they haven't already. And I don't want to have to pay $400 again to file my case. And I said, if they will leave me alone and have these people, you know, then we can make the case moot and I'm good. I just want to make a point. And so that's what they did. I'm sure they probably dismissed my case. I haven't like checked it or I won't worry about it. I actually made my point. So I'm getting out of their face in federal court because they know me very well down there.
You're kind of like that.
In fact, one day I went down there to file some stuff and you know how you got to whip out your ID? I'm walking up to the door and the marshals were like, Mr. Neighbors, you don't have to get your ID out. We know who you are. Like, holy crap.
We know you by name. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, that can't be good if you know who I am. But then I said, well, you know what? That's actually good because at least now I'm getting to come through the front door instead of the basement down below coming up through the, and the old dude was standing like, well, you know, like, dude, relax, okay? Yeah, I've been in the basement before a lot, okay? I can say that. Now, with that being said, I'm gonna have to say I've never been convicted of any crime, so I don't want anybody freaking out on me. I've never been convicted of any crimes, and yeah, they had to leave me alone. But it took me 33 months to get them out of my face. and then after I got out, I had more charges after I got out than I had before I went in. And it took me 2 years to get all 12 federal cases dismissed and out of my face. And now they don't bother me. Then one day you said something about the fear. I don't know if it's that. I think it's more they know that I'm going to be a pain in their butt because I'm not a deal taker. I'm not taking the deal because the deal is not for me. The deal is for you. So you don't have to pay money.
No, I think it's good that they're intimidated by you because, you know, like I said, if you can level the playing field at least to where you got it to, that's where we all want to be. That's what I always wanted to be as a homeowner. Just hear me out, listen to me, and I want to be a pain in the butt to you so much that you're going to say, you know what, just like you said, what's your deal? What do you want? Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone.
Well, you know what they're facing is they have so many people that give up that they don't have time to deal with people like me and people like these people that are listening that are ready to do whatever it takes. They don't have time to deal with that.
No, you're fighting the system, but you're fighting the system for good. You're not fighting the system because you want to be evil. You're fighting the system because you're proving a point, like you said. Just like you said, we didn't get any calls yet. Do you want to go a little longer, or do you want any last comments, or what do you want to do?
No, we're actually just kind of sum it up, the most important thing that people need to realize is that the statutes and codes that they're using to control your property are not valid laws. And you can, I mean, I have people, my daughter was concerned one day because she's an educator and a high school educator and a hero. She's definitely a hero in my book, along with all the other people there that are educating these kids. And she was concerned that, my property tax practice, because they get taxes for the schools and I explained to her, it's actually, I'm sure some of the property taxes probably goes toward the schools, but the reality of the situation is that it's against the Constitution to use property tax to fund the schools, because if that was the case, the poor schools wouldn't get anything. So, that with that said, so, what I told her, I said, look, you don't have to not pay. You can remove your stuff from the office and continue paying, or you can pay, you have options. That's what I'm trying to convey to people. You have options. And what they're doing is illegal right now. And that's the bottom line. It's totally illegal what they're doing. It's illegal in the Constitution. It's illegal on the laws for the corporation, the real estate deed laws. So you have to check two things. One, check to see if there is a law that, even a statute code or ordinance. Okay, we're not even going to pick at it right now. Find something that states that you have to file your deed in their, that register your deed in their office. If there's no law that mandates that you have to register your deed in their office, then you're doing it by consent. That's, now you were not disclosed and all that, but now you know. And even if you didn't know, you still consented because you trusted the attorney. And that's the number two mistake that most people make fighting foreclosure. The number one mistake that most people make is they believe that the lender is the one that's actually foreclosing on you. That's the biggest mistake that most people make. It's not the lender. It's the attorney acting as a third-party debt collector. The number two mistake is that people trust attorneys and they trust that the judge is going to be fair. And by the time they find out that that's not the case, it's almost too late.
Wow. So real estate, well, I just want to say real estate attorneys, real estate lawyers, and people that sell real estate, it's funny how they all know each other too. But just
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw that out there.
Now the real estate part, check in to see if there's a law that mandates that you have to register your property deed. Now the other thing is the real estate deed laws. Look up the real estate deed laws in your state.
Okay.
And see what it says. The real estate deed laws say how the process is supposed to take place to be lawful, and it doesn't take place the way the law says it's supposed to. But nobody knows about this because nobody's eating peanut butter sandwiches for a really long time learning this stuff.
Yeah, right. They don't even teach schools about this.
And they don't, and most people, when you're researching from the conventional side of things and not looking at things from the unconventional side, which is where you have to be, because if you're on the conventional side, you're never going to get your head above the poop to be able to see anything,
Right.
So that's people who are facing, people who have Airbnbs. I think if you invested in the eliminated lawsuit package and you took that notice of claim letter and you changed it just a little bit to reflect your Airbnb situation, I don't know. If I was the city, I would just leave you alone and see how that worked, because that's a lot of times what they do. They just when people are using my stuff, they just leave you alone and see if you'll go sit down. They stop and you stop or whatever. The goal in foreclosure defense, in my opinion, is for people to stay in the house. It's not to win, because to win to me means the judge is going to say, okay, yeah, no, that ain't never going to happen. Okay, so the goal for me is to teach people how to get to stay in your house, and also block the eviction process. So my goal is to help you learn how to stay in your house by filing your lawsuit or whatever in a higher court, and providing you with a strategy to block the eviction process. Because in non-judicial foreclosure, by the time most people can figure out what they need to do, you're got a week left and they're going to sell your freaking house. Now, with that being said, and people think I'm crazy when I say this, the most important thing is not blocking the sale of your house. The most important thing is not blocking the sale of your house. The most important thing is making sure that you have a strategy to block the eviction process. And I say that because they can sell your house all day. And if you file your stuff and you follow the program and do what you're supposed to, you're going to block that sale. You're going to tie up everything in state court. It's going to have to come to a halt. But if you don't have a plan to stop the eviction process, you can stop all of that and halt that, but that eviction process is still going to be taking place.
Right.
And if you're not lucky, you could be trying to do your fight with all your shit locked up in the house, because they're going to lock up your house, lock up your stuff, and I cannot believe.
Change the locks too.
Yep, that's what I mean. They're going to change the locks and lock up everything that's in your house. And if you go back in it, you're going to jail for trespassing. Go figure.
On your own house.
In your own stinking house.
Crazy.
Go figure.
Great, crazy world. It's just crazy. But Guy, I want to thank you. Coach Neighbors, thanks for being again here. And Sandy Smith said hello. But a lot of people, I think, are at lunch or doing something. So, but they'll hear this again. We'll promote it again and put it on there. We'll be back next week, right? Next Wednesday?
Yep, next Wednesday.
Okay, we'll be back next Wednesday, guys, at 2 o'clock. Any other last questions and comments, you can contact me. I'll make sure Coach Neighbors gets them. And once again, give your information, where they can reach you and how they can get your course.
Yes, I'll send you that information when we get done here.
Okay.
And I'll also send you a link to the video that I did last night that walks through all of this in detail and opens up the share window so you can see all of the statute and the codes and all of the documents. So that way people can, I'm making it easy for you to get educated, because I'm saving you a whole bunch of time. Even though I said my job is not to save you time, I'm actually saving you some time, but you still got to do the work.
Got to do the work. Yeah. I wish I had known you years ago. I would have had you on my side. I probably would have been, like this from them now, but whatever.
You know what I tell people, Gene? I tell people when they enroll in my course or when they invest in my product, and if I tell people, I'm going to show you how to have some fun. I have not had one person yet. I had a lady from Poland. She told me the other day, Coach Neighbors, I just want to say I'm having fun. And to me, that's huge. That is huge, because when people call me, they're so stressed out, and and to have her smiling and tell me she's having some fun smacking attorneys in the face and filing her sanction motion against attorneys, because I have a sanction motion in that package. So you're going in for $5.5 million for the lawsuit, and then we have a sanction motion that you would file against any attorneys that they find to help them, because attorneys are supposed to read about pre-filing investigation and they never do. And that sanctions for like 3.5. Yeah. So it's like a little lawsuit inside a big, yeah. Attorneys don't show people how to do none of this kind of stuff, but I love it, so.
Well, you have a good day. Thanks, man. And
thank you for having me, Gene.
Thanks for the info. Bye-bye.